So a bill before Parliament could see those who violated COVID-19 lockdown laws have their criminal records expunged. Afriforum had sought clarity on the matter after a number of people contacted the organisation. Let's speak now to its spokesperson for community safety, Jacques Broodryk. A very good evening to you, Jacques. Grateful for your time. So you had written to the Justice Minister about this, I think, in May this year. 2 months on, has anything turned on that?
No, unfortunately not. I can honestly tell you that we have not had a response from the Minister, so we are weighing up our options.
You're weighing up your options, but let's speak about the number of people that who've come forward to you, because you said that people have approached Afriforum saying, as a result of lockdown violations, they got criminal records and are now unable to find work. How many people are in that situation?
Well, the people that contacted Afriforum was probably around about 10 or 12 people, but which gave us a clear indication that if those are the amounts of people that have reached out to us, there must be many more people who are sitting in the same position, but maybe didn't take the initiative. So that's why we started off firstly by simply sending a letter to the Justice Minister and to the Portfolio Committee to ask how far this process is, whether it's still ongoing, and what exactly they aim to achieve. Are these records going to be expunged fully, or is there going to be some kind of a limit or situation attached to it? It's all of these things that the public certainly has no clarity about.
And are there specific lockdown violations, Jacques, which have become, or were in fact, most problematic, which by that I mean led to the highest number of convictions, which is now causing this problem of criminal records?
That we would have to check the police statistics for, but most of the people that I've talked with, it has been infringement of the curfew regulations. Either people getting back too late or going to a shop when they're not supposed to have been going to a shop. We know there were ridiculous instances, one victim that Afriforum assisted about 2 years back who got arrested because a gentleman left his house late at night to drive to the nearest hospital to buy baby formula for his newborn baby. And he got arrested for that, and they wanted to charge him. Luckily, we managed to get involved there before it got to the process where he was actually convicted of anything. So most of the regulations are ludicrous arrests in that regard.
And I do wonder then, Jacques, with that assessment, to what point or what extent is it up to employers then to use their discretion and say, okay, you've got a criminal record that pops up when we do a background search, and the offence, for example, was driving beyond the curfew hours during lockdown. Therefore, that is not grounds for you to be denied employment. Are you seeing employers do that? Are they using their discretion at all to assess the seriousness of the reason why a person would have such a thing on their background check?
Well, I'm not a labour expert, and I don't work in the labour field at all, but I would hope that employers would be reasonable and that they would do that. Unfortunately, there are other circumstances where it's much harder to simply explain it away, such as in the case of people working overseas, for instance, who can't get visas. It's very hard to explain to the United States that, listen, this was an arbitrary regulation. You have to give me a visa so that I can come and work there. It's obviously a little easier when you can face an employer and look them in the eye and tell them and explain it to them. And I really hope that employers will be reasonable regarding that issue.
And you said at the beginning of our conversation that you were now mulling legal action. I wonder what your options are on that score. What would you be seeking to do?
Well, at this stage, like I said, we still have to, first of all, we have to clarify exactly where this process is at. Look, maybe we're lucky, and government's about to finish this whole process, and we find out in 2 days' time that these expungements have been granted. That's certainly what we're hoping for, because that would make people's lives a lot easier. But if that's not the case, then we're going to have to look at where the process is at, why the process has not escalated to where the public would like it to be, and then we can weigh up the other options.
But what would be a reasonable time to wait? I mean, you wrote in May to the Minister about this issue. Many of the people who would have been arrested at the height of the lockdown, this sort of happened around 2020, much of 2021 as well. By 2022, there wasn't much of a lockdown to speak of. So some of those people would have waited 3 years, perhaps, looking for work and being denied, possibly.
Exactly. I think that's what makes this whole situation absolutely untenable, and that's why we decided to take action on it now. It's been delayed for way too long, and that's unfortunately a position that a lot of people find themselves in, and we often see in South Africa where you get this extreme disconnect between high-level politicians who make rules and regulations and the people on the ground who have to live with it and feel those consequences. And there just doesn't seem to be any real political will or any kind of heartfelt towards the public who have to bear the consequences of these bad decisions.
So how much longer then is Afriforum willing to wait before it actually goes to court over this issue?
Well, first of all, we'd have to figure out whether we can go to court regarding this matter, and if we can go to court, on what grounds that would be. So getting in legal opinion obviously takes a while. These guys need to study the cases very carefully and look exactly on what grounds we as civil society can actually get involved in, seeing as this was government's decisions to make. But we're definitely not going to leave it here. We are investigating the matter, and we will take action if we're able to, and if it's required.
Jacques Broodryk from Afriforum, spokesperson for community safety. Good to speak to you. Thank you.